Hi, this is Paul Fenn with another episode of Jeanneau Underway. In March 2016, Emory and Kim Zimmer found themselves in the British Virgin Islands preparing for an adventure of a lifetime, an around-the-world circumnavigation with the World Ark aboard their Jeanneau 53 someday. Today, 4 years and 32,000 miles later, I get the chance to sit down with them to hear firsthand about their amazing journey.
5 years ago yesterday, we moved on board the boat and started our 5-year adventure. And we spent, as you know, Paul, the first 6 months sailing up to Maine and down the East Coast. And then we spent 2 years sailing, all over the Caribbean, from Fort Lauderdale down to Puerto Rico, and did the loop down
all the way down to Bonaire and Curacao.
Yeah, Grenada. And did the loop a couple times before the World Ark started. And we really took that opportunity to build our skills and learn the boat. And I will say this, that even though we just ended our around the world sail, we still are always learning. And we learned so much sailing around the world, all the different environments and sea states and everything. But those 2 years in the Caribbean really built our confidence and allowed us to figure out what the right spare parts were to bring, and establish a network of people that we could communicate with and get things from if we needed them as we went around the world. And it was an opportunity to really get ready for the adventure that we were going to undertake starting in January of 2018.
From St. Lucia, we hit Colombia, Santa Marta, Colombia, which was a beautiful surprise, an old colonial city. Went through the Panama Canal, which was a hoot. I mean, really fun, so memorable, such an epic kind of transit. And
From Panama, they would sail south to the Galapagos, then west to the Marquesas, to the Tuamotus, the Society Islands, Tonga, and Fiji.
we went to the Galapagos Islands and then the Marquesas. And the Marquesas were just beautiful. It's like stereotypical South Pacific islands, volcanic, not many people. Just drop dead gorgeous. Yeah. And then we went from there to the Tuamotu Archipelagos, which is one of our favorite spots.
Yeah.
There's about 75 atolls in the Tuamotus.
And we only went to 3, but Fakarava and Apataki were our favorite.
Right,
and, you go into these atolls, they might have 1 or 2 entrances in or out. You anchor 200 yards off a beach and 10 to 12 feet of water, crystal clear. You're the only boat there. You're walking on the beach every day, you're snorkeling, you're swimming, you're fishing,
foraging for coconuts, papaya,
just
catching fish.
The South Pacific was phenomenal. Just everything that anybody's ever heard about the South Pacific, it's better than what you've heard.
We made one stop in the Cook Islands in Saguaro, and then we went to Tonga, which, you hear a lot about Tonga, but Tonga is really undiscovered. Not many cruisers there, really no charter boats there, and not even many locals. It's really known for its whales. That's why people go to Tonga. But we love Tonga. Left Tonga and went to Fiji. And Fiji is where our plans kind of firmed up to leave the Ark for a year. We just fell in love with Fiji, especially the Lau group. We were sort of adopted by a local family in the Lau group. We got integrated into the fabric of their daily life, which is really big time centered around church and then just survival. So everybody in the village has a role. And
this was in Fulaga, which is in the
Southern Lau group.
Southeastern part of the Lau group.
So some people are farmers, fishermen. Our host was a teacher, but we fell in love with Fulaga. And we always say it's really more of a feeling than a place.
And then after we left Fiji, we broke away from the Ark. We went to New Zealand for 6 months. And Paul, that was really good. We got down there in, I think, late October.
Yes.
We spent 2.5 months cruising kind of the eastern side of the North Island. You know, we went up to all these anchorages and the Cavellis, Whangamumu, Whangarua, to Great Barrier Island, the Mercuries. We went into Waiheke Island right off of Auckland and spent 2.5 months just cruising these great sailing grounds, the Bay of Islands. And then we went up into a marina and then spent the next 4 months touring the North and the South Island. And
yeah, New Zealand was a special place for us.
Yep.
It really was. So 6 months total there.
Yep.
And then we went back up to Tonga, rejoined the Ark there, and then we continued with the Ark all the way around the world, from Tonga to Fiji, Vanuatu, Australia. Sailing up through the Great Barrier Reef was another just wonderful experience, epic trip. It was calving season for the humpbacks. So the moms and the calves were just everywhere. You know, we had to dodge them. They were just everywhere. It was just gorgeous. Big winds off the stern and flat seas. It was epic sailing.
really good sailing.
Then we went from there to Indonesia, just stopped in Lombok, and then Christmas Island, Coco Keeling, headed across the Indian Ocean, which was a big adventure in and of itself. Big waves, pretty big wind, but we made it to Mauritius, Reunion, and then stopped in South Africa for 6 weeks. And then we went to St. Helena, swam with the whale sharks, which was always on my bucket list.
Incredible. They're so curious. And the kind of weird thing about that was when we went out on the boat with the people that we hired in with, they said, now don't get closer than 10 feet to the whale sharks or we're going to pull you out of the water and you won't be able to swim with them anymore. So you get in the water and these things are so curious, they're coming right at you. So you're swimming away from them because you don't want them to pull you out of the water until you can't swim with them. So you're trying to get all these nice pictures of them and everything, but you're having to avoid them because they just want to come right up to you. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Something that always seems to come up when talking about sailing off the beaten track is the idea of running across unsavory people or pirates. And I was curious to know if Emory and Kim ever felt threatened as they wound their way around the world.
We never did. I mean, you know, we were all over. We were in, you know, remote islands where people are really just trying to fish and forage for survival, and they're happy to give you anything that they can forage. And, you know, of course, we're trying to give them flour and sugar and anything that we could give them in return, you know, but just everywhere we went, people were happy. People were just trying to make a better life for themselves and their family, and you know, they were, you know, very welcoming.
Yeah.
There was not one place that was not welcoming of us as a sailor or us as Americans, and it just felt really good. I just felt so at peace with the world when we were out there, you know.
At Jeanneau, we often get asked the question of whether our boats are suitable for blue water sailing. So I passed this question on to Emory and Kim, curious to find out if they felt they had made the right decision choosing the Jeanneau 53 over a heavier semi-custom boat.
You know, we have like 8,800 miles on Someday now, and in only 5 years being on board. And she's a production boat. You know, she's not a Hylas or one of these fancy custom boats, but she's been wonderful. You know, we found out as we sailed around the world, because there's so many Jeanneaus everywhere, there's spare parts. People know how to fix them if you need assistance. And this baby's protected us. I've told you before, every time we come into a port after a long sail, we tap her, give her a kiss. And she's been wonderful for us. And you know, we've had a few minor issues, which you'd expect to have on a sailboat. I mean,
going around the world.
There's a lot of wear and tear, you know, that the boat has to handle. But you know, Someday handled it beautifully. We never would buy another boat.
Well, like today, you know, we had super light winds, right? Yeah. What was our wind?
We had like
7 knots?
5 to 7 knots.
And we were going 5 to 6 knots of boat speed. Yeah. You know,
I mean, the Code Zero up.
Yeah, you know, she's a great boat, handles like a dream. I mean, that's what I love. And then the inside, you know, it's home, you know.
She's
beautiful
a cruising
inside.
boat. You know, she's not, I mean, I remember Eric telling me this is one of the fastest boats that Jeanneau's made. But when you go downside and you see her, it's beautiful. It's a cruising boat, very comfortable, you know. And we've been living on here full time for 5 years, and we don't miss the big house and all that kind of stuff. It's great. And you know, we all around the world, you know, you go to these anchorages like off Waiheke Island in Auckland, and you're anchored off this $10 million home. And we get to look at it and the beautiful bay and the beach. And
then the next day we get to go to another beautiful place.
And they're still looking at the same view every day out of that $10 million house for the rest of their life. And we get to move around and just see all this beauty on our home.
As our time together was coming to an end, I had one last question. How do you know when you're ready to go for it and simply sail away?
One of the biggest things, Paul, we learned early on, and somebody told us this, I think maybe even Glenn, you know, who we bought the boat from, is you can worry and stay tied up to the pier and never untie and go because you never think you're ready. And you got to get to the point where you build up enough confidence where you know that you're never going to know it all, but you got to eliminate the fear, you got to untie the lines, and you have to go do it. And then you just stay in control.
Learn as you go.
Learn as you go. You sail within your capabilities, and you'll keep growing and be able to do more, but you got to untie the lines and set sail.
Well, I certainly enjoyed my time talking with Emory and Kim. For the Jeanneau channel, this is Paul Fenn, and I'll see you next time right here on Jeanneau Underway.
Thank you.